You're looking for all the Scadutree Fragments, and I'm going to show you exactly where they all are. There are 50 in total, so buckle up. This could be a longer video, but I will let you know how to get to every single one with ease. First up, you're going to start at the gravesite plain site of Grace, and you are going to run down the hill all the way to this Church of Consolation. After killing the enemies there, right next to the statue is going to be your first fragment. For our next fragment, you're going to head back to the gravesite plain, and you're going to run directly diagonally to this location on the map where there's going to be a small gravesite. There'll be a shadow ghost with a jar on its head. Go ahead and kill that ghost, and inside you'll find your second fragment. From that location, you're going to run to the west, and you're going to head to the three-path cross site of Grace. There is going to be a cross of Miquella as well as a Scadutree Fragment. For our next fragment, you're going to head directly west from the three-path cross site of Grace all the way until you hit the main gate cross. Once again, there's going to be a cross of Miquella as well as a Scadutree Fragment. For your next fragment, it is going to be located right here on the map. Now, if you start at the main gate cross site of Grace, I'm going to show you the route to get exactly here. Now, you're going to start by backtracking a little bit and then take a right onto these jutting out cliffs. Run all the way up until you pass a site of Grace, and then you're going to hang a right and stay on this path. You're looking for a small graveyard with a shadow ghost that has a jar on his head. After you see that, kill the shadow ghost, and then you'll get the shadow fragment. From this location, you're going to backtrack all the way over the bridge here until you get to this location right here. There's going to be a statue. In front of that statue will be another shadow fragment. From the castle front site of Grace, you want to make your way east till you get to this location right here on the map, which is the pillar path cross site of Grace. You can go ahead and follow the route that I'm showing you here, and when you can, veer off to the left and go towards Miquella's cross. At the foot will be another Scadutree Fragment. Next up, we're going to head into Bellyrat Tower Settlement. You're going to work your way through this entire settlement until you get to an area where there's a ton of spider scorpions, which if you don't know is right past the small private altar site of Grace. I'll go ahead and show you the exact route that you need to take in order to find this Miquella's Cross and Scadutree Fragment. Once you reach this ladder, you're going to go through the door, up the stairway, and take a left. You will see an item through a curved arch in front of you, but I want you to take a right and jump up the rubble. Once you jump through the rubble, you are going to encounter a ton of these fly enemies. Just go ahead and kill them all and continue running through this area, and you will run directly into that shadow fragment in Miquella's Cross. You're then going to head back to the castle front site of Grace, and you're going to make your way through Castle Ensis until you get to the Castle Ensis checkpoint. This is the only area where there's a Scadutree Fragment in the castle, and it's at Miquella's Cross. From the boss room at Castle Ensis, you're going to head directly out of the gate, and you're going to see another one of Miquella's crosses. This is going to be the Highland Cross site of Grace, and right next to that cross is going to be a Scadutree Fragment. We don't need to move far to find our next Scadutree Fragment, but you'll start at the High Road Cross site of Grace where you currently are, and you'll run directly up into this encampment. Once you get here, on the right side is going to be another statue with a Scadutree Fragment underneath. From our location we were just at, we are going to head directly to the left to the Church of the Crusade. There are going to be two fragments here, but you will need to kill the invader first, and then both fragments are going to be found right in front of the statue in the church. From our location here, we're going to head all the way back down this path here until we get to this little encampment right here. There's going to be another statue with a Scadutree Fragment sitting right in front of it, as you've seen before. From this location that we're at, we're going to head right over the road to the east to the Moorth Ruins Cross and Site of Grace. There's going to be a Scadutree Fragment here as well as an NPC which you can have a very interesting conversation with. From our location in the Moorth Ruins here, we are going to run directly into this pool of water because right here on the map is going to be a cave system that leads you to an entire different part of the game, but right in front of that is going to be a statue with a Scadutree Fragment. I already got mine, but I wanted to show you where the statue was. Fast travel back to the Moorth Ruins, and we need to head east. We're looking for a shadow ghost with a pot on its head, and once again we need to kill that shadow ghost in order to get this shadow fragment. But don't spend too much time here because there is one of those shadow assassins and they will absolutely wreck you. We then need to head south to the Shadowview Cross site of Grace, but in order to get there, we are going to have to unlock a Spirit Spring, so I will show you exactly how to do that, but for now, just follow the route that I'm showing you. On your right here, there's going to be a dragon with a big army fighting. Just avoid them completely until you see the Spirit Spring blocked right in front of you. You're going to find a way to unblock this Spirit Spring on the left side of the cliffs, so run around the left side of the cliff. There'll be a ton of bats there. Just go ahead and kill the bats and destroy what's blocking the Spirit Spring, and then you can come back and ride it to the top. Once at the top, hang to the right and follow the road, and you are going to run directly into a Miquella Cross, as well as our next Scadutree Fragment. Next, you're going to fast travel back to the Highland Cross site of Grace, and you need to run north through this encampment into the Shadow Keep. You're going to take the elevator up to the Shadow Keep main gate site of Grace, and the next fragments you will receive will be after defeating the boss directly in front of you. The hippopotamus can be a little bit ridiculous to fight, but after you get him down, you'll get some fragments. We're then going to leave the main gate plaza and head back to the Moorth ruins. So once we get to the Moorth ruins, we're going to head into the actual hole in the ground here and make your way around this side of the map all the way up until you get to this side of Grace, the Church District entrance. Now that you know where we're going, I'm going to show you the actual route how to get there, and then I'll leave some music playing in the background and rejoin you once we get to that Grace. Now that we're at the Church District entrance site of Grace, we are going to make our way through this submerged area. You're going to jump across the rooftops and make your way up to the church roof, where you can then jump in a hole in the ground. There will be some pretty difficult enemies in here, so just take note of that, but as you get inside, follow the route that I'm showing you, and you will find a submerged statue. On top of one of the statue's arms is going to be this next fragment. For the next fragment, you are going to progress straight ahead from the statue you were standing on. You're going to go across this bridge, and in the next room is going to be a lift that will take you up to the next area. When you arrive at the top, you're actually going to be on top of that platform right there. Go ahead and jump down to my location and follow me to the next site of Grace. Making your way to the storehouse first floor site of Grace, you're then going to naturally progress through this entire area, jumping on top of different statues, moving up staircases, until finally you reach the storehouse fourth floor. Your next shadow fragment is going to be right here next to this Miquella Cross and the storehouse fourth floor site of Grace. Progressing farther through the tower, you're going to end up running through these giant double doors, and right in front of this statue is going to be another fragment. This is directly down the stairs from the dark chamber entrance site of Grace. As you continue through the storehouse, you're going to make it to the very top, at which point you need to run out of the door, onto the rickety wooden platform and take the first of 2 lifts down. After you progress through that first lift, you'll follow the path around until you find the second lift. That will then take you all the way down to the bottom, where we will locate our next fragment. Once you get to the bottom, you're going to take a right at the site of grace, and in front of that statue is going to be your next fragment. You can also use the Oh Mother gesture here, and it will open this statue up, allowing you access to a different area. Now, running straight out the door into the back boss arena to fight Commander Gaius, you need to defeat him in order to have access to 5 other shadow fragments. Once you defeat him, you can run up the hill behind this massive gate, and there you will find 5 fragments in front of a giant chalice. The boss fight was incredibly hard and, in my opinion, was one of the worst ones to fight, but this is definitely a well worth reward. Now, our next few fragments are going to be found by getting to the castle watering hole site of grace and running down the Recluse's River, so I'm going to show you exactly where to go and how to do that. You'll head back to the storehouse front site of grace, and instead of running forward, you're going to turn around and go back down the lift. As soon as you get to the bottom, you're going to go ahead and kill the Fire Knight or run past him, and then as you go down the stairs, you'll take a left. Hang to the left side of that wall and you'll find a corpse next to a ladder. Descend that ladder and follow the route underneath the waterfall. Once you get to the waterfall, there will be a second ladder. Go down that ladder, and in that next room will be a painting, but on the right side of the wall will be an illusionary wall. Go ahead and hit that, follow the route around, and you'll find a coffin. The coffin will take you to the castle watering hole site of grace. Go down the water until you run into the Recluse's River upstream site of grace. You're then going to make your way from the Recluse's River upstream all the way down until the Recluse's River downstream site of grace, and I will now show you exactly where to go in order to get this next fragment. From the site of grace, you're going to make your way down to the river by heading forward and taking a left, and then jumping down a few cliffs. At the end of this river is going to be a coffin, and in that coffin is going to be our next fragment. Also, if you're not subscribed yet, feel free to subscribe and hit that bell notification. It helps out a ton. We're now going to make our way back down the river and jump down the cliffs we originally were coming down. You're going to make your way all the way down on the route that I'm showing you, jumping over these tombstones to get to the next area. There's going to be 2 shadow fragments in this area, and each one is going to be dropped by its respective hippo enemy. They aren't super hard to kill, they can be kind of fun to fight, but after you kill each one, you will receive your shadow fragment. Now, in order to get our next 3 fragments, we are going to have to make our way to the Abyssal Woods. However, you need to make your way into the Darklight Catacombs and defeat the boss there. Once there, it will spit you out into the Abyssal Woods, where you are going to find your next 3 fragments. From the Forsaken Graveyard site of grace, hang towards the left side of the map because you're going to end up snagging the Woodland Trail and then continuing down towards the church at the church ruins. Once at the church ruins, right in front of the altar is going to be 2 Scadutree Fragments. Our last fragment in the area, you're going to make your way to the Abyssal Woods site of grace and run directly north. You're going to run past some rats and then run into some wizards, and all the way at the end right here on the map is going to be your last fragment on a corpse. The Cerulean Coast is going to be our next location, starting right here on the Cerulean Coast site of grace. You're going to run directly all the way south until you hit Miquella's Cross. At Miquella's Cross is going to be another Scadutree Fragment. You're then going to head to the Cerulean Coast west site of grace, and you're going to run around the ship and take a left and run through the mountain pass. If you remain on the left until you start seeing these glowworm things, you should, on the right side of the cliff, start to see a very small cave. Inside that cave will be a shadow fragment and also a larger demi-human. And just for reference, here's exactly where it is on the map. Next, we're going to head to the Cerulean Coast site of grace, and you need to run all the way around to the peninsula until you get to the Fissure site of grace. In order to get to the fissure, you have to jump down the cliffs that it provides for you all the way to the bottom, and then after you progress through that cave, you're going to find the Fissure Cross, and at that, Miquella's Cross is going to be your next shadow fragment. For our next 2 fragments, you're going to start at the castle front site of grace, and you have quite a long run ahead of you. We're going to run south all the way down until we get to the Dragon's Pit dungeon, fight your way through that dungeon, and it will spit you out right here at the Dragon Pit terminus. You have 2 options here. The first is to go to the left and wrap your way all the way around here in order to get to an area where boulders are dropping on you, and there will be a shadow fragment. Or you can start at the Dragon Pit terminus and take a right and walk behind the altar of Dragon Communion, all the way over until this location in the area covered with red flowers. So I'm going to let the music play and show you the route to both of these locations, and I will speed it up for your convenience. The first route I'm going to show you is branching off to the left and climbing up those jagged peaks until we find the shadow fragment underneath some falling boulders, and then we will come back and go to the right. After dodging the boulders that are falling down on you, the shadow fragment will be directly in front of you against the rocky wall. Next up, I'm going to take you back to the Dragon Pit Terminus, and we're going to veer right, and I'm going to show you the fragment within Charo's hidden grave. This is going to be dropped from a Hippo mini-boss in a body of water, and I'll mark it directly on the map after I show you the route. Once you come up and over this hill, in this body of water here will be a Hippo mini-boss, and you'll just need to kill him in order for you to get this next fragment. So for this next fragment, we're going to head back to the Moorth Ruins Site of Grace, and you're going to run into this pool of water right here, and there's going to be a cave. Follow that cave all the way around underneath here, and then you're going to come out at the Ancient Ruins base. Keep heading down to this location until we get to the Temple Town Ruins. There's a Site of Grace right here in case you want to snag that, so you don't have to be as far away if you die, but inside of the ruins is going to be one of these fragments on a dead corpse on a balcony, and I'll show you exactly where. There's probably a better way to do this, but this is the way that I've been doing it on two characters in order to get up here, so you're going to do a little bit of parkour onto this broken down house, trying not to get hit by the ghost people that have the jars on them. After you get up to the top, do another double jump with Torrent to get in a hole in the building, and in that building is going to be this walkway with the corpse that has the shadow fragment on it. You now want to progress the game until you get to the Viaduct Minor Tower Site of Grace, and you're going to run out of that door to the left. Make your way down the small lift, and it'll open up into an area with a wandering hippo. You need to kill that hippo in order to get this next fragment. You're then going to want to head back to the Viaduct Minor Tower Site of Grace, but instead of going to the left, we're actually going to go to the right and follow this route through the ruins. After you go through these ruins, it's going to spit you out at the Miquella's Cross at the Rauh Ancient Ruins East Site of Grace. And per usual, anytime you find a cross, there's always going to be a shadow fragment there. We're now going to go back in the ruins that we just came from, and we need to pass the first Spirit Spring and run right down this hallway to the second one. After you get to the second one, jump up, and there's going to be a ghost with a pot on its head. Go ahead and kill that ghost, and you will get your next shadow fragment. We're then going to head back to the Rauh Ancient Ruins East Site of Grace with Miquella's Cross, and you need to make your way over the bridge here until you find the Rauh Ancient Ruins West Site of Grace. From there, there's going to be another set of ruins that we're going to be running into, so run up the ramp and into the next big room, and in front of a statue is going to be this next shadow fragment. Now these last few shadow fragments are going to be located at the very last area of the game. This first fragment is going to be located at the Spiral Rise Site of Grace. There's a Miquella Cross here, and at the bottom of the cross is going to be this next fragment. Now for this next fragment, we're going to start at the Spiral Rise exactly where we are, but we're going to do a very precarious jumping puzzle that is actually insane, and if you can do it, you're going to end up getting this fragment at the very end, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the route, and I'm not going to speed it up too much because I want you guys to be able to follow along, because this can get very confusing. Also, definitely kill those guys I just ran past, because I didn't realize they could still hit me under here, which is absolutely ridiculous. Once you get to this area where you jump through the window, you're going to follow it around, and there's going to be a giant statue on your left, and that's where the shadow fragment is going to be. Also, make sure to watch out for the giant scorpion. You're going to head back to the Spiral Rise site of Grace, and you're going to make your way up the stairs and out of the window. Navigate your way around those death birds, and up the stairs once more, and at the very top, right before you get to that really hard frost enemy, there's going to be a very small room on your right at the top of the stairs. Inside of that room is going to be your 49th fragment. And lastly, as you progress through this area towards the final boss, you're going to find this site of Grace right here, the Cleansing Chamber Anteroom. Once here, you'll notice that in this location, I've already got mine, but in this location right here is going to be your very last Shadow Fragment. And guys, there you go. That is all 50 Shadow Fragment locations within Shadow of the Erdtree. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope it was a help to you. If it was, make sure to subscribe and leave a like on the video on your way out. I would appreciate it a ton. Once again, thank you so much for choosing to watch my video. I know there's a ton of videos out there, but you chose to watch mine, so I appreciate it a ton. Until next time, stay safe, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one.